Hello and good evening and welcome to New York Theater Barn's New Work Series. I'm Joe Barros and I'm the Artistic Director.
Hi, I'm Jen Sandler and I'm the Associate Artistic Director.
This is the 14th installment of our New Work Series.
My God, every week when we say that number, I can't believe it, 14, and 30 new musicals and 49 writers since March is how many people we've developed, which we realized how many artists last week, and it's so cool and it's so insane.
Yeah, wow, 30 new musicals and 49 writers.
And that's after tonight, after Jamie and Tim.
In our virtual series, because our official series has been running for 13 years. Tonight, we are excited to present excerpts from the new musicals American Morning and Francois and the Rebels.
Yes, and tonight's broadcast will again be simulcast to Broadway On Demand. We are excited about our partnership with Broadway On Demand. So before we begin, we want to take a moment to give focus to a cherished member of our theater community. As a lot of you know, Nick Cordero lost his battle with COVID-19 this past weekend. Nick was a bright light of the theatrical world. I loved him. So many people loved him. Everyone that met him was taken aback by his infectious spirit and just how good of a person he was. There's no one I know that didn't like being around Nick Cordero. He was that guy.
Yeah, it is a tragic loss. Our heart breaks for Nick's family, friends, and the entire theater community. Moments like this remind us about the power of theater, the theater community, and the power of community in general.
Yeah, and I don't know if anyone has seen the GoFundMe that his family has started for Amanda and his son Elvis, but it just hit $1 million today, which that's so amazing. And if you have any money you can give, the littlest bit goes a long way. We'll put the link to the GoFundMe page in our YouTube bio, and we definitely encourage you to give. And we're just praying for Nick and Elvis and his whole family.
Absolutely. Our board of directors and staff have been meeting to discuss ways for our organization to further develop anti-racist culture.
Yes, with intention, our company has been conscious about increasing diversity on and off our stage in search of a world rooted in equality. New York Theater Barn is a safe and inclusive home for all artists, audiences, advocates, and allies.
As white leaders serving an inclusive group of artists, we are always seeking ways of doing better.
Change is coming, and we want to continue to be a part of that change.
Diversity is not equality.
Black lives matter.
Black trans lives matter.
Black women's lives matter.
All Black lives matter. We actively seek out and curate important culture-shifting stories that we don't know from storytellers we want to hear from.
And we're doing that in an even bigger way as we stand with our entire community. Black lives matter. And here to tell us a bit more about this initiative is New York Theater Barn's board member, Matt Schicker.
Hi, everyone. My name is Matt Schicker, and I'm a longtime member of New York Theater Barn's Board of Directors, coming to you from my home here in Ridgewood, Queens. I'm the founder and president of Show Shepherd, a consulting group that works with writers, independent producers, and nonprofit and commercial theaters to strategize the creative and business development of new plays and musicals. I also work closely with Red Mountain Theater Company's Human Rights New Works Festival in Birmingham, Alabama, Rhinebeck Writers Retreat here in New York State, and Ogunquit Playhouse in Maine on their new works development. And Show Shepherd is a member of National Alliance for Musical Theater, which many of you know as NAMT. New York Theater Barn is an important institution that's given me a front row seat to new culture-shifting musicals over the last decade. The entire board and I are really excited about tonight's new musicals, Francois and the Rebels and American Morning. These are two powerful stories from two musical theater writers we love to hear from, Jamie Cepero and Timothy Huang. Tonight's presentation doesn't come easily, and we need your help to continue to support the artists, especially during this time when paying, writing, and performing gigs are hard to come by. New York Theater Barn is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, so the donation you make will be tax deductible. This week, half of our donations will go to support the Okra Project, a collective that seeks to address the global crisis faced by Black trans people by bringing home-cooked, healthy, and culturally specific meals and resources to Black trans people wherever we can reach them. So thank you for supporting live theater. Thank you for supporting New York Theater Barn. Thank you for supporting the Okra Project, and enjoy the show.
Thank you, Matt. We are We are excited to support the Okra Project, which is founded by Ian Fields Stewart. Ian is a Black, queer, non-binary, trans-feminine, New York-based storyteller working at the intersection of theater and activism. They are also the book writer of the new musical, A Complicated Woman, The John Kenley Show, which we have been developing with Jeff Calhoun and Jonathan Brielle.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to get back working on The John Kenley Show with A Complicated Woman when we can all gather again. It's a really special show, and I can't wait for people to see it more. Absolutely. And we are also proud to support next week's charity, which is the Next Wave Initiative. The Next Wave Initiative is a developmental branch of the Directors Company committed to amplifying future Black voices in the American theater.
Our friend and prolific musical theater writer and performer Douglas Lyons is the founder and director of the Next Wave Initiative, and we are proud to be supporting this incredible platform and to be lifting up Black storytellers and their stories. Last week's New Work series celebrated the work of 4 musical theater writers under 20 who were all responsible for the book, music, and lyrics of their show.
Yes, our presentation featured the work of 16-year-old Elise Mara, 19-year-old Danny Feldman, 16-year-old Abigail Greenwood, and I still can't believe this, 13-year-old Joshua Turchin.
Yes, who's about to release an album from Broadway Records.
Yes.
So here's a clip from last week's presentation of musical theater writers under 20. Take a look.
Well, it all started, I was bored in class a lot, so I would just write. Some kids doodle, I guess. It kind of finds you, but once it finds you, you have to be able to work at it and put in the time. I think it was just a news article that I read about the Northern Ireland conflict, and I'd never heard of it. I was never taught about it in my world history class at school or anything. And it just seemed like an interesting setting to put 2 characters in and kind of see what happens.
So I took charge, nothing rash at the start, just a fight or 2, but then that grew. I assume you can probably guess what came next. Next thing I knew, I was America's most famous hitman.
Well, I've always had a love for composing. I've been composing since I could first reach the piano keys. Over time, I realized that this is what I want to do. I want to be a performer. I want to be a composer. And music is a part of who I am. Being a professional singer, actor, and dancer in the theater world, there was always this thing that the stage parents would talk about. It's called the quote-unquote dead zone, where you're too old to play a kid, but too young to play an adult.
'Cause finally it's time to be out of your shadow. It's time for you to let me go. Out of your shadow. Hopefully I'm through and over you and out of your shadow. Finally I'm through and over you. 'Cause guess what? I'm out of your shadow.
I went on a trip to New York with a bunch of my theater friends, and we went and saw Anastasia, and that's when it kind of clicked. I've always wanted to write musical theater, but that's when it clicked that I needed to write musical theater. I've always been a huge fan of history, but as a queer woman, never was I ever taught any sort of LGBTQ or queer history, and there's not a lot of roles or shows that feature the fact that queer people have always existed in time. And they did this thing, what you'll read in the biography that I have right here by Rachel Hope Cleaves, is that they hid in plain sight. Like their tactic for living in peace was just being open. And in small towns, like a town that I grew up in, there was very much a don't ask, don't tell mentality that actually kept people like Charity and Sylvia safe. So I Choose You is sung by the character Sylvia Drake when she realizes, not even as a queer woman, but just a woman, that she has, the control, she can control her own fate and her own destiny.
I'm taking back what they never saw missing, it could drag me away, scratching and kissing, but it just won't do, delicious me. So let you deal with the life that you are in control of, husband and wife, but I have the option to choose, whatever I choose.
I've been writing little melodies as long as I can remember. A lot of my writing and inspiration to write is credited to my high school music teachers, and learning music theory with them was finally when I was able to understand like why I love musical theater so much. I wanted to write some songs to put up at Frenchwoods, and they all ended up being about my personal coming out experience. And then people would come up to me afterwards saying how excited they were to see themselves up on stage. I think that was really the moment I realized that theater could change lives, and that was the moment I really realized I wanted to tell this story.
I'll pick a spot, the closet, and I'll stay in high for a short term, and I'll come out when it's my turn to follow that path. At last, I'll stand tall.
All four of them blow my mind, and I can't wait to see what happens with them next.
Yeah, and I want to clarify something. 2 of them by the end of this month will have albums from Broadway Records, but 3 of them by the end of this year will have albums from Broadway Records. So it's pretty incredible.
And can't wait to keep following them. They're insane. Let's start our night now. Our first musical tonight is American Morning.
American Morning has book, music, and lyrics by one of my favorite musical theater writers, Timothy Huang. Inspired by an article from the 2009 New York Times, American Morning tells the story of 2 Chinese immigrant cab drivers who share opposite shifts off the same medallion. The 2 men's fates become intertwined as forced competition drives a wedge between them that culminates in a single desperate act that leaves one dead and the other brutalized. The show is also an incredible examination of the illusion of the American dream. New York Theater Barn has been so proud to support Tim's work over our 13-year journey, and even prouder to be able to lift up his masterpiece, American Morning. Tim's work always excites me because he is an imaginative, thoughtful, and sophisticated storyteller who is telling new, rich stories and in new ways.
And now joining us from his home in New York City is the writer of American Morning, Timothy Huang. Here he is.
Hi, Joey.
Hello. I think this is one of the first weeks where both of our writers are all in New York City. Honestly. So we're glad you're well. We're glad you're here in New York.
So Tim, thanks for joining us. You've been a part of the New York Theater Barn family from the beginning. In fact, you became so connected to our world that you married former producer and associate artistic director Laura Brendel, and you now have a daughter together named David.
Indeed I did, and indeed we do.
And if you want to follow her on social media, there's a hashtag That's So Haven. It's true.
Laura was instrumental in the evolution and growth of our new work series, which is this. And she also worked with me to set the foundation for the series that's now celebrating its 13th season. Your show, American Morning, excited me the first time I got to see it, which I think was the ASCAP Musical Theater Workshop. And I got to watch Lynn Ahrens and Stephen Schwartz give you notes. And back then the show was titled Costs of Living. I was first excited about the show because I love the way you write songs. And I'd never experienced a musical theater piece like American Morning. And I was particularly compelled by the way you deal with language in the piece and how it moves cinematically through time and space. I also wanted to note that the show is a multiple award-winning musical, including the Richard Rogers Award for Stage Readings, making you, Tim, the first and only Asian American to win the award as a triple threat composer, lyricist, and librettist.
Wow.
Is that real? Can that be real?
It is real, and this show is awesome. And I know I haven't let you say anything yet. I have a little something special for you. So as I mentioned, New York Theater Barn has been proud to present Tim's work through readings, our new work series, and other developmental platforms. So here is a montage of American Morning, formerly Costs of Living, and these performances are from New York Theater Barn's glory days.
Reassuring you the host and anything they throw, 'cause though it's so long till I see you and we with the light that shines no matter where we roll, stay strong. I will see you clear. like we are finally here. Our struggles finally disappear. The sea will never know longing. I'll never be lonesome. We'll never say that we miss this existence we've endured.
Dear Hannah, I finished my training and begun to drive. Since my roommate Top and I have only one bed, I've decided to drive on the night shift so we can both sleep on it. It works out because he has a lunch rush at the restaurant and I get free fortune cookies. Dang, my new driving partner does not smell bad. Good news, Hannah. At this rate, we'll be over here in 6 months. Can you believe that I'm out here? Can you conceive that I've already come so far? But was there really any doubt here? What we achieve is based on what we are. There is no guess, there is no doubt, there is no hesitation. There's only yes, there's only run, jump, dive. There is only drive.
Dear Grace, I can't believe we're here. I finally have a new partner, which means less money spent on leasing and more money in our pockets.
You do not understand. See, I could be the star. I could have the fame and the glory, rising fast and far. High above this second-rate story, hang a left and stop at 12:03. Today I will look past the things I see. It's my first day in America. Don't tease.
Hand to God.
Hold this for a second.
Yes, please.
Oh my gosh, everywhere we look, there is something new to see, something to take in and be breathless with wonderment. Like a scene from my favorite book, everyone is stunning. There's people out here sunning, so perfect it couldn't be true. Just like looking at you. Are we really standing on this pier? I just can't believe I'm here.
Are all of those songs still in the show?
No, a couple of them have been cut, actually, and some have been kind of retweaked and stuff like that.
I know the last song we heard we're going to sing tonight, so that's exciting.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, indeed. Hey, before we go on, can I introduce you to someone?
Ooh, I wonder who it is.
My daughter, Haven, and of course, you know, Laura Brandell.
Hi. There would be, I said to him before, there would be no Haven without New York Theater Barn, so she's the New York Theater Barn baby.
It's true. No,
true.
no New York Theater Barn, no Haven.
I think the three of you create New York Theater Barn's proudest production.
Aww.
So adorable.
Well, thanks for indulging me. I appreciate it very
Sure.
much.
So let's talk about
Of
your
course.
first. Yeah, let's talk about your first baby now.
Okay, let's talk about my first baby.
So, what inspired you to tell the story of American Morning?
Well, this is really interesting because, as Joe had mentioned earlier, it was based on or inspired by an article I read in the New York Times in 2009. You can look this up. It's written by Corey Kilgannon, and it's called Night and Day. And in the real story, these two cab drivers are from Nepal, and really like horrific stuff happened to them. And around the same time I read this article, I was reading this book called The Other Wes Moore, which, if you've not heard of it, is written by this guy. His name is Wes Moore. He grew up in the Baltimore of The Wire, so like a lot of drugs, a lot of guns, a lot of prison, and manages to kind of bootstrap himself up through like luck and virtue, and becomes a Rhodes Scholar. Now, the same day that the local paper announces this scholarship, there's another article in the same paper about a different guy named Wes Moore who winds up sentenced to life in prison for attempted murder. And this guy like lives, in the next town over or something. They have very similar backgrounds. So the author of this book goes and he interviews this guy. He interviews his family, and he does like all this research, and he tells the stories of his own life, and ultimately comes to this conclusion like that guy's life, his story could have been mine, and mine could have been his, which I thought was like really, really interesting. So I kind of took these two ideas. I knew I wanted to write this story with Cab because I always like to write for people who look like me. I just I sort of married those two ideas, and we started workshopping it for my second year at the BMI workshop, actually.
Wow.
That's awesome. Well, New York Theater Barn helped you create a reading of the show, and we've peripherally been a part of the show, and it's been really important to us. But I'd love you to talk more about where else the show has been in its amazing developmental journey.
Yeah, it's a really crazy long story. I mean, not long story, but a very crazy journey. So, as Joe mentioned, we crowdfunded for a workshop in, I think, 2012. And right after that, the good folks at the BMI workshop were kind enough to invite this show to do the annual masterclass there. And they find a fancy writer every year to host it. And this year that I did it was Mr. Sondheim, which was like, I don't know him. Off the floor. And I said, yeah, let's do that. Following that, I think there is an organization called B-Side Productions. I don't think they're around anymore, but everyone who is involved with them still is around in some capacity. They're very much an artists for artists organization, and they'd come into a little bit of good fortune and wanted to create this award called the New American Musical Award, for which I applied and won. And so we got to workshop it there as well. Following that, we were accepted into the NAMT Festival in 2015. So we did that, and as a result of NAMT, we met some really wonderful people at the Village Theater in Seattle, hosted it for their Festival of New Works. Joe, am I forgetting? Who else?
Well, Amy Engelhardt just said that she saw it in NAMT and said it was really amazing. And then you most recently had a workshop production at Prospect Theater Company, which we love.
And yes. I think let's introduce the first song, and then we'll get to what you're doing right now at the show.
Right on. So this is called I Can't Believe I'm Here. And we have Marc delaCruz playing the role of Eng. So what's going on now is in the story, these two guys, they switch off. They take one takes the day shift, one takes the night shift. What happens is the night shift driver, his name's Chin, doesn't really do as well as his day shift partner for various random reasons. And in this scene, we find that Eng, the day shift partner, has basically he was finally saved up enough money to bring over his wife from China, and is basically sacrificing his day shift so that he can show her around Battery Park City and everything around the Statue of Liberty and whatnot. Meanwhile, his partner is taking his shift and making all this money, and so there's a little bit of anxiety there. And then before I just want you to know that this actually is an arrangement by the amazing Alexander Sage-Oyen, who I think has been part of this workshop as well, or this programming as well. And he's fantastic, and I just wanted to give him a quick shout out because the arrangements are sick.
He's great. So let's see the first song.
But Tim,
say seagull!
Seagull! You always make that goofy face.
That's my regular face.
It's my first day in America. Don't tease.
And to God.
Oh, hold this for a second.
Yes, please.
Oh my gosh, everywhere we look, there is something new to see, something to take in and be breathless with wonderment. Like a scene from a fancy book, everyone is stunning. There's people out here sunning, so perfect it couldn't be true. Just like looking at you. Are we really standing on this pier? I can't believe I'm here. Pretzels!
Pretzels!
Hold this.
Yes, please.
2 pretzel, please.
Oh, day one. Thank you.
Hold this.
Yes, please.
We used to make fun of these back at home. I mean, it's bread, but it's salty, and there's nothing inside. But today, not bad.
Yeah, no, they make really
shiny.
Look at her kind of going wild. What would all the squirrels think? Probably that she is incredibly not bizarre. How could we ever have a child? Would we even half survive? Has she even noticed I've canceled my morning routine? day shift, I mean. Looks like making time's my new career.
I can't believe I'm here. Look, someone's selling their paintings. Hold this.
Yes, please.
How much to pay the one? Little world, seven-sided frame, full of people smiling there, full of people everywhere. Only $12.95. Faces here never look the same. Everyone's a different shade. Every color here displayed proudly, and now so are we.
And then I just
can't believe what I see. If I close my eyes, don't disappear. Hey, is that a statue or is that a real guy? Hold this.
Yes, please. I can't believe I'm here.
Look at how the sunset just glows.
Day shift comes to
It's so gorgeous I could just die. Standing in its light just breaks my heart. Now that we're not apart and our lives can restart, there is nothing we can't do. Come here, there's something I have to show you. How much for this? Thank you very much. Here, hold this.
It's a keychain of the Statue of Liberty. I don't understand.
Someday soon you'll have your own medallion and your own cab. An SUV with that great new car smell. No partners, no shifts, no boss. Just you. I want you to hold that. Keep it with you and look at it every day. See it. Think about the day you can put your own keys on it. Every day, eyes upon the road, always with your goal in mind. When do you expect to find happiness in your own life? Trust me, I am your wife. If you let me help you as you steer, navigate the cold unknown frontier, we'll be somewhere better in a year. And we'll say we can't believe. We will say we can't believe.
We will say we can't believe.
We will say we can't believe we started here.
Wow.
It makes me a little depressed.
I know. People are saying how amazing that girl's voice is. That is Cathy Ang, who we did not introduce before, but she's amazing. I saw her in We Are the Tigers.
And for those of you with Netflix, if you've seen a trailer for an upcoming animated film called Over the Moon, she voices the lead character in that. We were so excited for her. Cathy, amazing. Josh should probably explain something about that thing we just saw, though. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
So within the show, there's this kind of a language device that I've created, or rather borrowed, wherein when two people of Chinese ancestry are talking to each other, the audience hears them the way they hear themselves, which is fluently. But when they speak to somebody from the United States, the audience hears them the way they are heard, which is in broken English. So that's why there's that kind of switcheroo. And really, I mean, part of the reason for that is to kind of remind us all that, like, without language, language is the result of a lot of the sort of social imbalances that we have. I think a person with a master's degree in X, Y, and Z, if they don't present themselves in fluent English here, will maybe not have as many doors open up to them as somebody who, just kind of picks up on the language. It was something that was on my mind as I was writing the piece, so I kind of incorporated that into it. That said, we have next up is this amazing solo by the other character Chin, who when we hear this, it will all be fluent because it's just him. But it's called If Only, and it's performed by Ray Lee. And what else can I tell you? Yeah, what can I tell you about this song? He sort of finds himself in a situation from which there's no real turning back, and kind of he sings this song at the top of a bridge. Is hopefully what you should know. Yeah.
So let's see it.
Although it's so long till I see you, we have a light that shines no matter where we roam. Stay strong, I will see. If someone had asked me then, I'd tell them that I knew when. I'd know to the minute just how long it would be till I'd see your face. 'Cause I was a little off, missed by a click and a cough. But Hannah, it's not been angels and fountains or gold-covered mountains. You cannot begin to know of the strain, the 100 ways I've tried to explain how this whole thing has been a bizarre, inconsistent disaster. How I need some more time for the clock to move faster. Hour by hour, day after day, the moments I saved get squandered away, trying to find what might just be fool's gold. Still I go chasing my shadow, losing my mind, running through lights but falling behind, putting a price on what can't be bought or sold. Days will disappear, still you aren't here. Suddenly my daughter's 8 months old. If only I knew then, if only someone told. I'm sorry I missed your call. I'm sorry about it all. If it did any good, I'd swear I'd save and prepare. I would slave so hard. And Hannah, I'd make you proud. I'd honor what I had vowed. Another beginning, brimming with hope, and our future wide open too. And I would stand with you unafraid. With no regrets, we came and we stayed. Every sight that we saw, there'd be cheers, there'd be awe. From the top of the rock to the middle of strawberry fields, to the ship sailing by Lady Liberty, smiling her smile at new citizens gliding right past her. Hour by hour, day after day, the moments I said get squandered away, trying to find what might just be fool's gold. Still I go chasing my shadow, losing my mind, running through lights but falling behind, wishing to God it worked like I was told. Never wealth or deed, time is all you need. Time to save or spend before it's sold. If only I knew then. If only, if only. And this sunrise here, you really must be old.
Wow.
That dude.
That dude.
Just like, you know.
That dude.
Breaks me. So I know you have big news about the show right now. You just had an album come out last week.
We did. So we recorded most of it right before quarantine, and then for I think the last track we wound up kind of outsourcing it to people with microphones and stuff. But if you search on any of your streaming platforms for American Morning Studio album, you will very likely find it. If you search with my name, you might not, only because I don't really sing on it. I sing on one track. But yeah, it's the studio album. And again, the whole thing was arranged by Alexander Sage-Oyen, who himself is an amazing composer and one of my best friends.
And Ariel Jacobs is on that album, Marc delaCruz, Will Rowland, so many, Ray Lee, so many other great people.
Actually, not Marc delaCruz, Josh delaCruz.
Josh delaCruz.
Yeah.
They're not
And Tom
related though, which is
Sesma.
crazy. Tom Sesma, we love Tom Sesma.
Yes. I just saw Tom Sesma in Unknown Soldier at Playwrights Horizons.
I missed
it. Well, Tim, we can't wait for the album, and we are so excited about the show. So thank you so much, and thank you to Cathy, Marc, Ray, Laura, and Haven.
Thank you for having us. We're so thrilled to be here.
Yes, we especially want to thank Haven. Well, we're excited about your album, and we will see you soon once we can gather again.
Bye, Tim.
Bye.
And now on to the second half of our presentation, the new musical Francois and the Rebels.
Francois and the Rebels is a punk rock retelling of the 1971 Haitian Revolution. 1791, and has book, music, and lyrics by Jamie Cepero for NBC Smash. With a pulsing punk rock score and a story pulled from historic events full of love, loss, and deception, Francois and the Rebels tells an important and often forgotten Black history through the lens of an immersive, high-energy rock and roll experience.
Good, and I'm going to repeat that again because I knew nothing about this. Francois and the Rebels is a punk rock retelling of the 1791 Haitian Revolution.
Not 1971.
1791 Haitian Revolution. And now joining us from his home in New York City is the writer of Francois and the Rebels, Jamie Cepero.
Hello.
Hey, guys.
I feel like 1971 would be a very different story.
I mean, what's up?
We're excited about the show, and I think, sort of the irony is that, even in rehearsal, when Jen and I were going over 1791, we were saying like and Jen did the same thing then too, which is just funny. But the irony here is that this is something we never learned about in school. So for us, this is like virtually an untold story, and because of it, it really excites us.
Yeah, I think what's really exciting, this entire movement for the last 2 months, there's so many things I'm finding I did not learn in school, and it really hurts me to know that because there's so many important things we should know.
Yeah, I agree. As a man of color, it really kind of jarred me to find this history at this stage in the game for me. Like I was 30 and I found this history and was like, how have I never heard of this? And I just kept thinking about how many times I could have used this sort of like version of a Black hero when I was a kid. And so that was a part of what kind of inspired me to start writing about these characters and got the ball rolling on creating the show.
But what sort of helped you evolve it into sort of the kind of show that it is and the way that you're telling the story?
So I grew up listening to a lot of like Dashboard Confessional and Sublime and Bad Brains and just a lot of punk and rock as a kid. And often I was kind of made fun of for that and told I was acting white and just, I was a weirdo. And so as I got older and I started studying this history and I came across it, I thought, what better music to encompass the energy of a riot and the energy of protest and fighting back against an establishment than punk. That's when you think of something that's of that caliber, punk is the most radical type of music ever since, the early 70s. So I thought that would be a great way to merge this history, and also because punk music and rock music was always a black style of music. I feel like the optics of punk and rock have always kind of geared towards like angsty white teenagers, and I kind of wanted to take that back and make it our own again, and show people that just because you're a black performer or a black singer doesn't mean you're always singing R&B or you're singing gospel, or like we can sing a lot of other things. I often want to go into auditions and sing something rock, and I'm often told to sing Stevie Wonder instead. You know what I mean? Like, so that was also a part of it, just to kind of merge those things and tell the story in a new and exciting fashion.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing all that. So we'd love to know more about where the show has been in its developmental journey. What are the organizations that are lifting the show up?
We did a lot of developing at Music Theater Factory. That was the first place that I kind of got the space and the funds to do some concert works and some workshops, just to try it out and see it on human beings and not in my crazy head. We did a concert at Joe's Pub, I think last year, that was received really well and had a fantastic cast. And then kind of COVID happened, and it's kind of been a weird place to maneuver new works. But we had a lot of support from them. Music Theater Factory has been so wonderful to my company and the show. So we're just kind of looking towards the future, and you guys are so great for giving us this opportunity to let other ears hear us. So I'm very excited to be here.
And we're such a fan of Shakina Napak, and we're so glad she's a fan of your show.
That's my girl. She was the first one to kind of like give us the permission. So
and for the people who have no idea what we're talking about, Shakina Napak is the founding artistic director of Musical Theater Factory, and now Mayan Tio has succeeded her, and we love Shakina, we love Mayan, and we are actively working with Musical Theater Factory on just supporting artists, lifting up new work, and also being a better organization as far as equality and diversity goes.
Absolutely. So what is the first song we're going to see tonight?
So the first song is called Ghosts, and it kind of happens late in the show, but I just love this song, and it was one of the first ones that I wrote about the character Christoph. And at this point in the show, they have been challenged as the king of the island by another person that's trying to seize power, and the people have kind of lost influence from him, and he's kind of getting afraid and falling into this anxiety and depression about being assassinated. He's just starting to get scared of that. So this song happens when he's alone and he's kind of given up, and he's having a last kind of like rock out before he just dips out of reality and becomes a ghost. So Alex Lugo is going to sing it, and she's fantastic. Godspell castmate of mine. And check it out.
Let's take it away.
this all just stays the same. It doesn't matter what they think. It doesn't matter if they whisper. Drown it out in these bad rays. Marie, she's beautiful, she's perfect, but even her bright eyes can't stop the weather of this storm. It crept in through my shadow, down my spine. It's bleeding through the cracks between the floor. You won't haunt me
I love her so much. Isn't
I
she the
love her.
dopest? She's just, I love her so much. Hi, Alex. I know you're watching. You're the bomb. She's a star. Learn her
Yeah,
name.
that art direction for something in quarantine is just so great.
I just told her to record the song, and she was like, my songs, my recording's gonna be a little extra, so I hope that's okay. I was like,
We love
this is
extra.
perfect.
And that was J. O'Connor Navarro, who just said he just loved Alex's voice, and he's one of our featured writers this month as well.
I love him. He's so wonderful. Aw.
Awesome. Well, tell us a little bit about the second song.
Sure. So one of my favorite performers, Elle Morgan Lee, is going to be singing the next song. And this character, Marie Claire, at this point in the show, her husband, who is kind of very demanding, very angry, a little bit of a womanizer, has been assassinated. And she has always, in the background, kind of quietly picked up the pieces of the movement. And in this moment, she doesn't even really have a chance to grieve. So this song kind of happens where she's moving through her grief while also working and trying to push this revolution forward, as Black women often have to do. So this song is called A Woman's Work.
And we have the amazing Elle Morgan Lee singing this, who is a friend of our company and we love dearly.
Be bold and be strict, be cautious with time. They won't look right through you if your face is poised, refined. Yes, he sees other girls, but you've got giant plans. The future's all that matters, and it's almost in our hands. A woman's work is never done. Sometimes the battleground that's out there isn't half what's on my mind. So back to work as usual. Bear the weight, bare your limbs, bare your heart as lumber burned for change. These pages must remember us. We didn't shoot these guns to disappear behind another old man's name. Yes, he can be foolish sometimes. And now and then there whispers knows her mind is easy to lose, but harder to find.
My God, she can sing.
I could listen to her sing the phone book. Like,
Me too.
So for those people who are just sitting there, first, L. Morgan Lee was in the Pulitzer Prize-winning musical Strange Loop, and was also in the recent reading of A Complicated Woman, the John Kenley Show, which I talked about earlier.
Yeah, she's amazing. I love her so much. She's been with the show since the beginning of its inception, so I'm really glad that she's stuck around.
And I know you said you created the role she's playing with her in mind from the beginning.
I did. When I finished that song, immediately I texted her and was like, would you be interested in singing this song? And she immediately was like, yes, this is beautiful. And it just kind of went from there. And I've been kind of maneuvering it around her voice. So yeah.
Look at what Tim Huang is on the other side now, and he says, the last show I saw L. Morgan and won a Pulitzer. Calling it now. Jamie's is next.
You know, from your mouth to God's ears, girl. Let's do it. 2021. Thank you.
Awesome,
I
Jamie.
said this a few weeks ago on the broadcast. I really think when we are back and we can gather again, there's going to be this revolution almost of new musicals that are different and that we didn't have before that we need now. And I really hope this is part of it.
I hope so too. Yeah, I feel that energy right now. It feels like something new is definitely coming. There's going to be a slew of new musicals, I think.
Yeah, and I think our industry especially is really, really responding to the call to action right now to bring change. So I have faith in us as theater people.
Awesome. Well, it's been so much fun getting to know you and your show. So thank you, Jamie, and thank you, Alex and L. Morgan.
Thank you for having me.
Wow, we'll see you soon in the real world.
Hopefully. I'll see you guys soon.
Bye. Oh, it was so much fun.
I know.
Huge thank you to Katie Kearns for putting her heart and her soul into telling stories with us each week.
Thank you, Katie. Thank you to our video editor, Hector Flores Jr., for his incredible vision and work this week and every week. Oh, he's right there. Hi, Hector. We thank him every week. And like so much of our broadcast would not happen without Hector. Every recap video you see, he is behind it. So love you, Hector.
Thank you, Hector. And thanks so much to board member Matt Schicker, friend and board member Matt Schicker, for his light and message this week.
Thank you, Matt.
Well, that's our show for tonight.
Join us next Wednesday, July 8th, 2020 for our next edition of our new work series.
Yeah, we will feature excerpts from the new musicals Talk to Me and Flipped.
Talk to Me is written by Tim Rosser and Charlie Sohn, and Flipped is written by Jay O'Connor Navarro, who was on this chat tonight. And we're excited for both of those shows to be with us next week.
That's right. And I was supposed to direct a reading of Rosser and Soane's Talk to Me in March before the quarantine shut down with Jen Kalila, Zach Pizer, and Bryn Williams. So I'm thrilled that we get to present the show next week. Thank you for tuning in tonight, and thank you for supporting live theater.
Joe and I look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you, and good night all.